in the political activity around the case. I did come to have a certain amount of contact, primarily indirect, of course, with George. The only time I saw him was at a hearing I attended in Salinas. But it was almost impossible not to see the strength and the love that George Jackson had within himself, a love that expressed itself in a million different ways, a love for his people, a love for oppressed people, a love for all the people with whom he had any contact. All he used to call them all the innocents, all the people who had not already actively aligned themselves with the forces of oppression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember reading one of his letters. In fact, I read his book, but one of the letters where he said that he had no self, he had no image, he had no ears, no eyes. He went on to talk about this, but some of the most interesting letters were the ones that you and George exchanged. They were very moving letters. You've undoubtedly had some kind of understanding as people who were struggling together. Well, were there some common strings there that in the struggle that you felt very strongly about, you and George?
Well, George was a revolutionary. George considered himself a communist revolutionary, and he felt that his revolutionary beliefs and the struggles that he had to wage were far more important than his own life. That's why he spent 11 years in prison for a crime that was,
what was
so
it, $70?
insignificant. $70. And if he had had at that time a good lawyer, and if racism had not been what it was, he never would have been in prison in the first place. Yeah. And that's what was so ridiculous about it. But it was not, I don't think that I would say that George was lacking in a personal image. That was one of the things that was so beautiful and so incredible about him, that he was able to perfectly merge his political life with his personal life. There was no conflict between the two, and the one was very much enhanced by the other. Within his political struggles, there was a very profound personal love and identity and solidarity with all his sisters and brothers, with all his comrades. Then every personal relationship he had was determined by and infused with the struggle for liberation.
The interesting thing about it is the fact that George Jackson was killed August 21st. And at that particular time, we saw some new directions occur in the prison system. For instance, there was the Attica, there was San Quentin. How do you perceive the penal institutions at this particular time in regards to what they call rehabilitation and other directions that they may be taking now that the death of George has occurred and Attica has broken loose and possibly other prisons as well?
Well, things have been festering under the surface in the prison system for a long time. In fact, when I became involved with the Soledad Brothers Defense Committee in Los Angeles, at first we simply took it upon ourselves to defend George Jackson, John Clouchet, and Fleeta Drumgo. But we later realized that the question was much broader than that. It wasn't simply a matter of three individuals who were being subject to the repressive forces of the penal system. It was the system itself that had to be attacked. It was the system itself that had to be abolished, so that we eventually broadened the field of our activities to include an assault on the prison system as a whole.
Well, what you're strongly implying, I gather, then, is that the character of justice is not really changing that much even though recently we've seen Bobby Seale, Erica Huggins, Huey Newton just recently, who have been freed. Is the carrot of justice really changing that much?
Well, what is justice? I mean, what does justice mean? Does justice simply mean that a person who has been charged with a crime is going to be acquitted? I mean, that's what happened, of course, to Erica and Bobby and Huey and the New York 21, and partially in the case of the LA Panthers, who were just recently on trial. They were acquitted, or the charges dismissed against them, but that appears to me to be a purely formalistic view of what justice is. Empty. It has no content. If you can pick out someone, single a black person, a black revolutionary out, charge him with an unbailable offense, put him or her in jail for 2 years, 2.5 years, is in the case of the New York 21, I think. And then afterwards, get up with the case that you have that doesn't have any water at all, and have the jury acquit them. Is that what justice is all? They've lost years of their life. See, what has happened in those cases is that the black revolutionary leaders have been effectively silenced. They have been separated from their people, isolated from the community for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
You see, this is a contrived, calculated effort on the part of the powers to be, the ruling class, to make sure that they are separated from their people.
Well, see, there are a lot of ways in which repression can express itself. It does not necessarily mean being shot down. It does not even necessarily mean being sentenced to prison. It can mean being detained for so long that one cannot be effective in the community. It can mean being forced into exile, as Eldridge Cleaver was forced into exile, and we see what has happened to Eldridge and what his exile has meant for his ability to be effective in the black liberation struggle here.